ending on a loss is hard and not what you want, but I do think that we can be proud of the effort we put out there, especially in the fourth quarter, losing Aaliyah, losing Kelsey. I don't even know if that was the third or fourth quarter.
Imagine fighting through injuries all season, proving the doubters wrong, and dragging your team to the brink of the finals, only to watch it all slip away, not because you were outplayed, but because of the whistles. That's exactly what the Indiana Fever faced in Game 5 against the Las Vegas Aces. Aaliyah Boston battling in the paint, only to be hit with phantom fouls. Kelsey Mitchell fighting through pain, dropping buckets, then collapsing into the hospital after non-stop contact that went ignored. Odyssey Sims exploding for 27, but clipped all night with no call. Fans weren't just upset, they were furious, asking, was this basketball, or was it a setup? Tonight, we dive into the chaos, the heartbreak, and the fiery accusations that the Fever weren't beaten by the Aces at all, they were beaten by the officiating. From the very start, the Indiana Fever's season looked cursed. 6 players gone with season-ending injuries. A rotation patched together with hardship contracts. And their superstar rookie, Caitlin Clark, sidelined for nearly the entire year with an ankle injury that should have ended all hope. Most teams would have folded, written off the season, and started planning for the draft. But not the Fever. Led by Aaliyah Boston's dominance in the paint, Kelsey Mitchell's fearless scoring, and Lexie Hull's relentless defense, this team refused to die. They scraped and clawed through every game, dragging themselves into the semifinals against the defending champions, the Las Vegas Aces. On paper, it was a mismatch, a dynasty stacked with all-stars versus a battered squad running on grit and heart. But the Fever weren't just playing the Aces. Night after night, it felt like they were playing against something much bigger, something they couldn't quite control. And by the time they reached Game 5, fans weren't just asking if the Fever could win. They were asking if the game would even be fair. The red flags didn't suddenly appear in Game 5. They had been waving since the very first whistle of the series. Game 1 was supposed to be a fresh start, a chance for the Fever to shock the defending champs. Instead, it quickly turned into a showcase of questionable calls. Aaliyah Boston, the anchor of Indiana's defense, was whistled for ticky-tack fouls that had fans scratching their heads. Screens that looked routine were suddenly moving violations. Light contact in the paint was blown dead. Meanwhile, on the other end, Kelsey Mitchell and Lexie Hull absorbed heavy body checks, arms slapping across their drives, and nothing. Silence from the referees. Plays that should have sent them to the free throw line simply vanished into thin air. By the time Game 3 rolled around, the numbers told the story. The Aces were stacking up free throws, while the Fever were forced to fight for every single point. Commentators started hinting at inconsistencies. Fans weren't hinting, they were shouting. It was clear, this wasn't just about missing a call here and there. This was about momentum, rhythm, and trust in the game itself. And as the series tightened, one question echoed louder than ever. If the officiating was this shaky early on, what would happen when the season came down to a winner-take-all Game 5? Game 5 should have been the ultimate showdown. Winner goes to the finals, loser goes home. But instead of a fair fight, it turned into one of the most chaotic, controversial nights the Fever have ever experienced. It started with Aaliyah Boston. She set a screen, routine, solid, nothing out of the ordinary, and suddenly, whistle. Offensive foul. Moments later, another phantom call, this time for a supposed flop. The Fever challenged. The replay looked clean. But the call stood. And the frustration boiled. Then came the dagger. Fighting for a rebound against Jackie Young, Boston was whistled for her 6th foul. Ejected. Gone. The heart of the Fever's defense was sent to the bench, not by the Aces' offense, but by the ref's whistle. The challenge failed. Fans exploded. And it didn't stop there. Kelsey Mitchell, fighting through cramps, kept getting hacked on her drives. No whistle. She eventually collapsed, carted to the hospital. Lexie Hull was shoved out of bounds, play on. Nalissa Smith took a shot to the face, silence. Every moment piled onto the anger, the disbelief, the sense that the Fever weren't playing 5-on-5. They were playing 5-on-8. This wasn't basketball, it was chaos. And for Indiana, it felt like their shot at the finals had been ripped away, not by Vegas, but by the officiating crew. For most teams, the chaos of Game 5 would have been the breaking point. Lose your star in foul trouble, watch your leading scorer collapse with cramps, get shoved around with no protection from the officials. Most squads would have folded. But the Indiana Fever? They did the opposite. Odyssey Sims stepped up like a warrior. At 32 years old, on a hardship contract, she dropped 27 points and carried the offense when everything else was falling apart. Every bucket was a statement, we're not done yet. Kelsey Mitchell, before her body finally gave out, poured in 15 points. She refused to back down, even as defenders hammered her on every drive. Her toughness sent a message, even when she couldn't stand, her fight was still on the floor. Aaliyah Boston, in just 24 minutes before fouling out, dominated inside. Rebounds, putbacks, defensive stops, she looked unstoppable until the whistle took her away. Lexie Hall? She played hurt, but still dove on the floor, still guarded the Aces' best players, still kept her team's energy alive. And Shea Petty nailed clutch threes to keep Indiana within striking distance, refusing to let the Aces pull away. They weren't just fighting the Aces, they were fighting the officiating, fatigue, and heartbreak. And somehow, even as bodies dropped, they never stopped swinging. The scoreboard showed a loss. But the Fever's spirit showed something much bigger. This team wasn't broken. It was forged. When the buzzer finally sounded and the Aces moved on, the Fever didn't storm off the court. They didn't point fingers. They didn't create a scene. Instead, one voice stood out, Lexie Hull's. Hull isn't the star scorer or the big-name rookie. She's the glue, the grinder, the one who does all the dirty work nobody notices. And when reporters asked her how the team felt after such a brutal loss, her answer was raw, honest, and unforgettable. She didn't complain about the officiating. She didn't make excuses. Instead, she said she was proud. Proud of the fight. Proud of how her teammates battled even after losing Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. Proud that, in the face of chaos, they refused to quit. And then she admitted the truth, it was heartbreaking. Sad for the group, she said softly, her voice cracking. That sadness wasn't weakness. It was love. Love for a team that had been through everything together, and pride in how they carried themselves through it all. In that moment, Lexie Hull showed exactly what the Fever are building. Accountability. Resilience. A culture where excuses don't exist, and the fight never stops. Her words didn't just sum up the game, they summed up the season. A team beaten on the scoreboard, but never beaten in spirit. If you only look at the scoreboard, Game 5 was a heartbreak. But for the Indiana Fever, it was so much more, it was a blueprint for what's coming. This group showed the league they can compete with anyone, even when depleted, fouled out, and physically battered. Think about it, Caitlin Clark, their superstar, missed nearly the entire season with injuries. Aaliyah Boston was limited by foul trouble. Kelsey Mitchell left the floor mid-game after taking constant hits from defenders. Yet this team, 6th seed, full of unknowns to many, forced a two-time champion into overtime on the road. That's not luck. That's grit. That's foundation. And it's exactly the kind of experience that forges a championship-caliber team. Players like Lexie Hull, Shea Petty, and Odyssey Sims prove they can step up when it matters most, learning to carry the load without relying solely on the stars. The adversity isn't a setback, it's the hard-earned lessons that will make the Fever unstoppable next season. Imagine next year, Clark returns fully healthy, Boston and Mitchell more experienced, Hull anchoring defense, and a roster battle-tested by playoffs. The chemistry, the toughness, the refusal to quit, these aren't just skills, they're identity. And identity is everything in the WNBA. Game 5 may have ended in loss, but it planted a seed. The Fever didn't just survive, they leveled up. Fans should take notice, this isn't a team to feel sorry for. It's a team to fear, because the next time they're in that position, nothing and no whistle will stop them. Even in defeat, some performances demand to be remembered, and Game 5 was a showcase of courage, skill, and sheer determination. Odyssey Sims, who joined the roster late on a hardship contract, became the heartbeat of this team. She poured in 27 points, dished out 6 assists, and shot 50% from the field, refusing to let the absence of stars define the game. Every drive, every contested layup, every bucket in overtime was a message. Indiana wasn't going down without a fight. Kelsey Mitchell, even while battling relentless defense and physical punishment, reminded everyone why she's one of the league's most dynamic guards. Before her body gave out, she racked up points with precision, hitting threes and attacking the rim against defenders who left no space unguarded. Her effort set the tone early, giving the Fever momentum when they needed it most. And then there's Aaliyah Boston, the anchor in the paint. Even limited by foul trouble, she dominated rebounds, demanded the ball inside, and battled physically on nearly every possession. Her 6th foul in the final seconds of regulation was a cruel reminder of how the game was tilted, but her impact on both ends of the court was undeniable. Lexie Hull and Shea Petty also stepped up in key moments, filling the gaps and keeping the team competitive. Hull's defense and clutch plays, Petty's timely threes, these contributions weren't just stats, they were lifelines that carried Indiana to overtime. Together, these performances showed a fearless, relentless group that refused to let adversity define them. Game 5 wasn't just about losing, it was about proving that the Fever's stars shine brightest when the odds are stacked against them. The Indiana Fever showed the heart, grit, and resilience that every fan dreams of, but now it's your turn to speak up. What do you think about the officiating in this series? Were the Fever robbed, or was it just part of playoff chaos? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear every opinion. If you're as inspired by this team's fight as we are, hit that like button to show your support for Indiana's fearless stars. Make sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you never miss the behind-the-scenes stories, player highlights, and controversial moments that shape the WNBA. And don't stop there, share this video with your friends and fellow fans. Let's make sure everyone sees what it really takes to fight through adversity, challenge a dynasty, and leave everything on the floor. The Fever are coming back stronger, and your voice matters. Click the video on the screen now to catch our deep dive into the most shocking moments from the series and see why this team is already setting the stage for a championship run in 2026.